now going to show you the initial setup and installation of a Prima access controller. So as you've seen in the video, we've installed the controller, we've wired it all up, we've put it in our IT room. In this case, this is a TCP/IP version, and now we're going to go into the back end and put in users, add some groups, and really just do the first functionality of how to get this installed. So the first thing that I'm going to do when I first install my Prima controller, there are two options. You can do this either in your office or an offsite location, or you can do this on site on the install. What we're going to do is we're going to define a static IP address for each of the centrals. Now, if you don't want to define a static IP address for each individual centrals, if you're going to have numerous centrals, you can connect them through RS-485 connection to transmit the data from the one master, pushing those down to the slaves, and then you'd only have to get one static IP address available for the master, and that will push all the updates. But if you don't want to daisy chain them all together, you will give each central its own static IP address, and then you don't need to daisy chain them together. They'll all communicate wirelessly with each other. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to click download the discovery tool. And this tool is extremely easy to use and self-explanatory. So what's going to happen is you can see the discovery tool here on my desktop. This tool is going to pop up, and basically what will happen is in two situations that you have. The first is, let's say before you get on site, you want to set up the static IP address for your centrals so that when you get there you can wire it up and be good to go. In that case, what you're going to need to do is plug in a hardwired network connection from your laptop or a computer into the central. You're going to plug that in, and then what will happen is when you pull this Prima Central Discovery tool up, it's going to show you all of the default IP addresses that the Prima system comes with. Now, you will only see these if you're opening up the Prima Central Discovery tool on a computer that has access to the same network that the Prima controller is plugged into, meaning if you plug it in directly to a laptop and pull up the Central Discovery tool on your laptop, then you're going to see it. If you plug the Prima controller into your network switch on your business, and you're accessing it, trying to pull up the Central Discovery tool on a computer that doesn't have access to the network, you're not going to see it. So what I recommend is if you're going to do it at your office, plug it into a computer or laptop and just directly do it here, or wait for getting on site, plug the Prima access controller into the network switch, pull this up on one of the computers that has access, and then you're going to come in here and automatically it will search here. You can see it's paused right here. It will say scanning, and then when it finds one on the network, it's going to pull up what that is. I will then click on that, and this is just fake, so there's nothing here. I'll click on this and I'll click change IP address. It's telling me I don't have anything connected. That's okay. When I click change IP address, it's going to pull up another window on top of this window, and it's going to show you have a couple of options: change IP address, the subnet mask, and a couple different other things that you will change to match the network configuration of the job site that you're working on. You'll fill in that information and you'll click the button that says change IP. It will ask, are you sure you want to change the IP address to this IP? And you will press yes. Then you will wait for a minute. That window will close, this window will stay open, and it's going to pause, and then it's going to scan again. It takes about 10 seconds, and then the new IP address that you have set will pop up in this window. That's how you know that it's been set. You wait a minute, it will rescan, and then the new static IP address that you've designated to that central will pop up. You're going to go through and do that to each individual central that you're using. So if you have 5 centrals on a job that you're using, you're going to do that 5 different times and set those IP addresses. Once those IP addresses are set, you will then access the software either through the internet on a computer that has access to the network, or you can port forward the IP addresses that you've set, and that port forward can be accessed through any web address or through any web server from any computer to this main page, which will then make you enter a username and password. This is always the main page you will see, regardless of if you're accessing it remotely or if you're accessing it within the network. So what you're going to do is you're going to type in the IP address that you've designated to that controller. this screen is going to pop up. Now keep in mind that if you have numerous centrals, let's say you have 5 centrals attached to this, you have 5 centrals on this job. They all have different IP addresses. The first IP address that you type in, make this central the master central, meaning any updates that are pushed into this system, this central, that is designated this IP address will automatically push out to all of the slaves. So the first IP address that you log into through the software defaults as the master. That can be changed in the software, but it's just a feature we've added to make it a little bit easier for you as the installer. So I've created my username and password. Your username and password will be the default the first time you log in, which will be sysadmin, sysadmin, and the password will be sys4 admin with a capital A. I've changed mine here in advance, and this is actually a working system that we have. So I'm going to go ahead and log in. And now that I've logged in, this is saying I'm the master. Any updates, any changes, these will automatically push out to all of the slaves. Okay, so I am now on my home page. Like I said, this is actually a working access controller that we have set up. So there have been logs and files given to us in the past couple of days that we're showing, but this is just a main look at the page. We've gone in now and we're looking at our main latest events page. Off to the right, you can see system information. We have 1 total door on this system with 13 users, 1,220 registered events, the time, the database. If we had any disconnected centrals or readers, any errors, any warnings, anything like that, it's shown quickly over here. And then on the left is our menu, the menu option where we can go through and decide what we want to do. So let's say we've accessed this for the first time. This is an install. We're getting it ready to turn over to our customer. The first thing that we will do as an installer is the first thing that's going to happen is it's going to ask you in a big orange box right here, do you want to change your username and password? You'll click on that and go through the steps to change it. Very self-explanatory. The second thing you're going to do is you're going to locate the hardware that is being used on this job. So I'm going to go locations and hardware, and then you're going to get a list of the access control systems that you have set up on this job in this network. So you can see right now I have 1 central, which I have changed the name to front door. You can see if I click on front door, it's giving me a quick look at what's going on. My reader is online, my central status is online. This will not show up until you have gone in and located those. So what I'll do is and when you first open this, it's going to show up as the IP address. So you can click on it and you can edit it. So I'm going to click on it, front door. I'm going to manage hardware, and then I'm going to click on manage centrals. When I click on the manage central, you can see now that I've labeled this the IT room. I'm going to click here, click on the IT room, and I'm going to click on settings. Now when I come into settings, the first thing that I'm going to do, because nothing will really be showing here, is I'm going to search for readers. And this is going to go out and find all of the readers that I have attached to the central that I have installed, and you can see that it's showing me 1. I have 1 that I've already labeled as front door. I will then click on this and it will say add reader. It doesn't right now because I've already added it, but we'll say add reader. You're going to click on add reader, and then you're going to do that for as many readers pop up here. And then I'm going to close the window. And now you can see that my front door, because I've changed the name, is here. My reader is online. It's a Nexus MK reader. It's connected to door 1, and if you wanted to, you can go into advanced settings and you can reader direction is entry, all of these things you can change. And then I'm going to come down here to door 1. It's connected to door 1 of 2. This is a 2-door alpha, so there's 2 doors that have a possibility. This is door 1, and I'm going to come down here and I'm going to set my parameters for that door. You can see I have my front door here and my status of the door showing as door 1 is closed, door monitor is okay, the relay 1 is inactive, and all these things you can see. You can also come in here and you can see this is my master central, which has been set. So you can play around with this a little bit. But the first thing you need to do is locate locations in hardware, locate your hardware, click on those settings, and then come in here and click search readers, get that reader online, and then you're good to go. Set your door parameters. Now, if I wanted to set this up as a wireless unit, I have to first be plugged in to the network. Then I'll come in here to the IT room, and when I click on that, I'm going to click Manage Central. And then I'm going to come over here. It's finding my IT room central is Alpha 2 Central, and I'm going to click on Options. When I click on Options, and again, all centrals have to be connected hardwire at first, just to change the settings. When I click on Options, and I am plugged in hardwired to the switch right now, I'm going to click on WLAN Settings. WLAN Settings. And this is where I will come in, and if I have a wireless central, I will click Search Wireless Networks. Once it's going to take 1 or 2 minutes to search for all the wireless networks, and it's going to give you a list of all of the ones that it found within range. Once it finds those that are in range, you're going to select the one that is the same, configured to the same network as the IP address that you have set for the unit. So if your customer has a guest Wi-Fi, you're not going to want to attach to that. You're going to want to attach to the network's Wi-Fi. You'll click on that Wi-Fi, and then you're going to enter their security key and then confirm that security key, just like you would logging into Wi-Fi from a phone. You're going to set that, and then you're going to press close. It will be enabled, and now for the wireless one, you can go unattach that from the network switch and take it to the door or doors where you're going to be using it. Power down, take it to the doors, and now the wireless is set. Now, for this one, we're not doing wireless. We are just plugged in hardwired, so I'm not going to change those settings. I'm going to leave that alone, but you can see that I would be looking at right here all of the centrals that I have. For this one, it's just one central that I've named the IT room, and it's an Alpha 2-door central with my IP address that I've set here. And then this is where you're going to go in and change all your door settings. Now, if I had more than one central, I would see a tree here of what's going on, and I would show them I have my front door, I have let's say my back door is a different central, a different building is a different central. You'll have a tree showing all of those in the manage hardware. So now that I've located my hardware and I've made sure I've located my card readers, I will now go in and I will set up groups. So if I go to users and access rights, you can see the users we have in here. I'm going to click on manage groups, and I've already got 2 groups in here, one for all and one for business hours, and I'm going to click add a group. I'm going to call this group just test 1. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add that test 1 group, and it's going to pop up here. I can now go click on manage schedules for the test 1 group. So let's say I'm going to manage my schedule. I've already got some schedules in here. So I've got the employee schedules. They're allowed from 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. So I could put that one in there if I wanted to, or edit it. And I can go ahead and make all these schedules. So I can add a new time schedule, or I can use one of these. So I'm going to go ahead and leave these alone. And I'm going to click on my test. And this is my front door. So if I click add, I can go ahead and add, and I can look at the different schedules that I have. I've got an employee schedule. I've got an employee schedule second card read, which means it unlocks the building for the rest of the day. I've got the automatic lock time, and I've got a limited access. So I can change these to do whatever I want now for that front door. So I've got now test 1. I'm going to show you an example here for business hours. You can see my business hours. I've got the schedules attached to the business hours. I've got the employee schedule, which will open at any time. If they're part of this business hours, it will open with any card read or PIN that is put into the system. And I've also got the employee schedule, which means if they swipe the card twice or hold the card twice, it unlocks the door for the rest of the day until the automatic lock schedule comes on. Now, if I click on the all schedule, if I go to front door, you can see it has unlimited access. It will open with a card read, any credential, a card read or a PIN number. And you can see the difference here with my test. I have not assigned any rules to my test. If I wanted to, I'd click on add, and then I'm going to click on this or this one or this one, and I'll click save changes. So let's say I want this one to have my test group. I'll say I want my test group to have unlimited access, that schedule. So now you can see my test group has it to the front door, limited access, open to any. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to delete this. And I'm going to remove that just because I don't want to save it into this system. And now my 2 groups are here, my all and my business hours. Now I can go in and I can add users. So I'm going to click on add a user, and I can import from a file, which you'll see how to do on the tools section, the Excel spreadsheet import file, which you can download. I'm just going to add an individual user. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to label them test. You can give them as much information as you need to. And you can say when their card is valid and when that validity ends. You can enter a PIN number. Let's say this person's number is 55555, and this is where you can add cards. You can add up to 8 cards by putting them in here with that Prima number for now, but we will soon have the facility code and serial number that you can put in there. and I'm going to go ahead and press save. So I'm going to do a fake card. I'll press save, and as soon as I press save, you'll see now that I have more options available to me. So I'm going to give this test user, I'm going to add them to the business hour group. Now they have rights to, if we come over here, we can look. You can always scroll down and see what's going on more. With this tree, they have rights to the employee schedule, which I can remember what that is if I go back and look. The employee schedule second card read. And I can manage groups from here. I can also look at this person's latest events, and I can set some more information on their account. I can give them their own login if they want to access the software, so I can know who's been accessing the software by giving them admin rights. And that's what you'll do there. So now that person is saved. You can see here, test, and that's what we've done. So you can import these one at a time, or you can import it from a file. The file's done the same way. So if I go to add users and import from file, I can open a CSV file, which then I'll open the file and it's going to drop in all of these columns, and then I can actually go in and change the columns to what I want them to be. So if I open a CSV file and brought those people in, then you'll be able to see I can mess with these columns to give me the information that I want. Click import, and you're done. And it's going to drop all that information in for you. Now if I go back to my home screen and my events page, I can see I can search events for specific times. I can look at the latest events that have gone on, and I'm able to see really everything that's gone on. In my settings, I can go in and change my username and password if I want. I can look at advanced settings and all of those things. So basically, for the first installation, you're going to go in and you're going to change the IP. You're going to assign Centrals a static IP address through the Central Discovery tool, which can be downloaded at primaaccess.com or transmittersolutions.com. Once you have those IP addresses, you're going to plug each of these in hardwired at first, and you're going to access the IP address and log into the IP address of the system that you want to be your master, the one that will push updates, all updates that you put in that, out to every central in the network. Once you log in, you're going to go to locations and hardware, you're going to find your hardware, which is your centrals, and then you're going to click on those individually, and you're going to go search for readers. Once you search those readers, you can rename your readers and your centrals. Make sure those are all online. You can click out of there, and then you're going to go to users and access rights and manage your groups. You're going to create access groups and manage those schedules. And then you're going to either import your users from an Excel file or put them in individually and assign their access groups to them. Then you can run reports and all of those things. So it's a very easy installation. Like I said, even if you're setting up wireless, before you can change the settings to wireless accessibility, you'll need to plug into a network switch or network input of any kind, and then go into the settings of the hardware like we showed you and change those settings to search for the networks and connect to the network's Wi-Fi. Then you can disconnect that and take it to the doors that you're going to be setting those to. So this was a very simple, quick installation that will show you how to get it up and running for a 1 or 2 door. Again, it's the same application. If you're doing more doors, you're going to follow the same steps, and as you play around with the software, you'll become more comfortable with it.